So in the last tutorial, we talked about the IOC container and the auto-resolving dependency injection. And in this tutorial, we're going to talk about views and how views can be a little bit different than what you might be used to. So every framework has their own interpretation of MVC. So what the V in the MVC or MTV or MVVM or whatever the model is, it could be different. So with Django, the view is more like a controller method. You have your business logic in something like this. It could be a function, it could be a class, and then you pass all this logic off into a template. In Masonite, the template is the view. So all templates are located in resources templates. All right, so we have our welcome template that we were using earlier, and we've created a hello world template. So these templates are what Masonite calls views, right? Because they're the view. This is what the user sees. In the architectural hierarchy, it would be the presentation logic. So we're going to talk about how you can use the templating engine to structure your views. So the first thing, we might want to go to our hello controller, and it looks like we're using this view, right? So users/hello, which would be templates, and it starts from here. So users/hello. It automatically appends the .html, so we don't have to worry about the extension, just as long as our view has the HTML extension. Let's open up the hello controller. So we might want to pass some information into here. All right, so let's say we have hello, and that equals to world. So in our hello view, we could just say hello, right? So we have these double curly brackets on both sides, an opening and closing one. And whatever we passed in here, we just want to basically echo out or print or show. So if we just go back to our web.py again, we can really just clean this up. And let's just say we have a new one called hello, and it goes to the hello controller at show method. All right, so hello controller show method. Okay, and if we just run this, and we go to our application /hello, we now see world, right? So we have a hello variable, and that's equal to world, and we just printed that out. All right, so this can say hello world 2, right? And if we just refresh, we see world 2. So now something else you will do is you might have an if statement. So, all right, so your if statement would be something that looks like this. So curly bracket, %, curly bracket, and you put your if statement in here. And Python, it looks very similar to Python. So we could say if hello is equal to world. We could say, let's say hello world. And then we could say else not anything, let's say, right? So this could be anything that you want to put here. Okay, so if we show here, it says not anything, right? Because it's not equal to world. It's equal to world 2. So those are basic if statements. You might want to say else if or elif hello is equal to world 2, then show hello world. Okay, so now that works. So those are basic if statements. You could also use a for loop. So let's say we have a list. Let's say we have some list and it equals to 1, 2, 3, 4. We could pass that in. So let's say some list. And then we just loop through it simply. So similar structure. So for item in some list, we can show the item. And we can just end it. Okay, now we should see 1, 2, 3, 4. So basic structure. We can also show, this is also very useful. It's else. This would be list is empty. So if we have an empty list, it'll show the list as empty. Now, something else you might do, if we just say hello again, there's something in that Jinja calls filters, which is a pipe sign, and then you add the filter name. So we could say something like capitalize. And if we show here, it capitalized the W in the first letter. So filters are really powerful because you can modify the variable that you're using in a pretty simple way. And we could also use multiple filters if we just keep on appending this pipe symbol. So you might want to say to JSON, and then if we refresh, it basically makes it a JSON string, which apparently it put quotes around this. But also notice it's still uppercase. So we ended up applying both these filters to this variable. So what's even more useful is you can also extend views. So you basically create a hierarchy of views. And what we would probably do is create a nav directory. And in here, let's say a base.html. So when we're using this, we might create a basic HTML structure. And inside this body, we might say this is top of the body. And then you may want to put some kind of block here. Right? So these are called blocks. Block content. And we just end the block here. And then we can, let's say we want a block footer. And I'll explain this in a second. So what's going to happen here is that we can actually extend nav/base.html, and inside our child template, right? So this is the parent template, and this is our child template. We could put our block in here. So remember we said block content before. You could say this is from the child template. And if we refresh now, you'll say that this is the top of the body and this is the child template. If we view the source, you'll notice that it injected this is the child template exactly where it should be, right? So right below it. This might be good if we want to have some title here. So we could say block title. And we could put some default information here. So this is the default. If we refresh, this should say, oh, we didn't close it. We have this is the default. But if we put something in our template, named child template, it'll actually use that instead. So you can make all your child templates have different titles. Something else useful is that you can use an includes. So you can do something like include helpers/message. Now we can create that. Helpers, what would I say, message. This is a helper message, right? And this might be your error messages or something like that. And you can have a lot of logic in here. And we just have to put .html, right? We have to add the extensions. And if we refresh, we now say this is a helper message, right? And if we look at the source code, we have the same thing. This is super, super useful, especially for error messages. You can read a lot more about Jinja at the Jinja documentation. Now, in addition to all this, Masonite has a few built-ins. So for example, we could have a CSRF field, and we have to mark the save filter. That's going to be removed in the next release, but for now, this is what we have to do. So if we try to do this, we now see it showed a hidden field with our CSRF token. Well, what we also have is a route helper. So if we put in our welcome.hello, which would be our route name here, welcome.hello, we will actually get the route URL. So we said hello here. All right, because that's this. There's also a request helper. So on the request, we might want to get the input of something. Let's say the input of crazy, right? And it should default to false because there is nothing. But if we have crazy is equal to yes, we should see yes. All right, so this is the actual request class. You can do whatever you want with this request class that you can in a controller. But remember that it's good to have most of your business logic, if not all of your business logic, in a controller. You can reference the documentation if you want a little more in detail and explanation of how these things actually work. But for now, we're going to talk about how you can sort of extend the view class and kind of add things to this. So if we just go over to our app providers, user model provider, you can see it's just a normal service provider with WSGI equal to false. What this basically means is that it doesn't need to run on every single request. It can run before the server actually is served. This sort of offsets some of the bootstrapping. But anyway, so in our boot method here, we can import the view. And the boot method right here is actually resolved by the container. So there's a couple things we can talk about here. So the first one is called view sharing. So what view sharing is you're making globally accessible variables. So we might want to say global hello, which is equal to I am from a shared view class. So now if we go back to our hello template, we could actually output this variable. So it was global hello. All right, so this should output that sentence. So let's try it. All right, so I am from a shared view class. So you're basically you're sharing this dictionary as if you were, creating this. So in addition to whatever you pass here, it will pass in this shared dictionary. There are called view composers, which is view.composer. This takes a template name. So let's say we want it to be accessible in users/welcome, or sorry, users/hello. All right, so the templates, users, hello template. So I only want this accessible in this template. You could also create a list here. So if you want it to be accessible in multiple templates, we could say it's also accessible in helpers/messages or something. So just another template. Or we could say that we only want it accessible in users/star. So any template inside the users folder. Or you could say users/hello star, and that would be anything that basically starts with a hello. So we can create a new template. Let's say it's hello world.html. So since it starts with hello, this will be accessible in it. So this is pretty powerful. So by default, we have a environment, which is resources/templates, right? So this is our template environment where all of our templates are stored. And we can use this to extend and all this, right? We're inside our own environment, essentially. So in order to add an environment, it's just view.add_environment, and we just put the location of it, starting with a /. So right, so maybe we want it in our routes or something like that, right? So it would be routes/templates. That's it. So that adds the environment. So now you can start adding templates in here, in this folder, and it'll read it as if it was added in the resources folder. And lastly, we can add filters. So we could say view.filter and give it the filter name. So we'll call this is hello, or we could say make hello. And then we can just pass it a callable. So we could say make hello. And what this needs is, let's put a forward thing here. All this needs is a variable name here. So this variable name would be whatever we're filtering, right? So we said this was global hello. We could say make hello. as a filter, which would be this here. So whatever this is passed in this variable. And we could say return hello world regardless, right? So this will return hello world regardless of really what we pass in here. So let's go ahead and craft serve again. And this says hello world regardless. So regardless of what we put here, we just created a filter that just says hello world regardless. And that's really views in a nutshell. Again, you could reference the documentation for a little more in detail explanation of how things actually work. But that's it for now. I'll see you next tutorial.